Well, that's the irony of it. There's absolutely nothing political about this. This is not a political issue. This is not a political discussion. It's not a Republican. It's not a Democratic issue. It's not a soft on crime. This is about what's right. Everybody wants that, and everybody deserves that. And if people knew the true scale, they'd be outraged. Let me just throw out a number for you, okay? 75%. 75%. That's the percentage of faulty eyewitness identification that contributed to documented cases of wrongful convictions. We now know with certainty that the leading contributing cause to wrongful convictions, these are all the ones that have been overturned positively on the basis of DNA, that faulty eyewitness identification played the leading role in that wrongful conviction. So it's a matter of science now. It's a matter of correlating this number. This isn't some pie in the sky issue. That is a scary, scary number. What if I told you that the reform that would ensure that faulty eyewitness identification did not occur in 90% of the cases was as simple as a protocol, a procedural change made by law enforcement, and that the government on a national level, on a federal level, has known about this reform for the past 20 years. It took them 10 years to finally agree to actually write the reform. And 10 years later, 20 years since we discovered this, the implementation rate amongst law enforcement agencies on a local and municipal level is less than 15%. That's unconscionable. That's the equivalent of knowing of a deadly disease, having the cure, and withholding it from the public. In most cases, we're talking about a policy change, a procedural change. Sometimes it requires a legislative change, but most are really simple-minded reforms that everybody agrees will either go a tremendous way in alleviating and minimizing the potential for this kind of flaw to result in some injustice, or in some cases absolutely eliminates the potential. And so it's unconscionable for us not to be trying, not to be implementing these things, not to be having this national discussion. And that's what this effort aims to do, is to set the stage for awareness, for reform through education, through enlightenment. The thing that people need to realize is that everybody loses when a system continues to operate with known flaws. Everybody loses. Law enforcement expends unnecessary resources pursuing the wrong suspects. The court systems get tied up with additional cases that ultimately have to be relitigated. The Department of Corrections houses people that don't belong there in some cases, or don't belong there for the specific length of time they're there. Families are shattered through injustice. Beyond just the direct victims of injustice, there are the indirect victims. There's mothers, there's fathers, there's sons and daughters. As much as we talk about issues like wrongful convictions, injustice encompasses so much more than just that. There's a lot of nuance within the criminal justice system. There are a lot of shades of gray. It's not as simple as being black and white all the time. There are issues including ineffective assistance of counsel, disproportionate sentencing. There's discovery violations. There are countless other issues that come into play, faulty science, etc., that all contribute to some form of injustice. And it's not just a matter of people who are getting convicted and going away. There are people who ultimately, after sometimes years, get a fair shake, but along the way, they have been depleted. Along the way, they have had their lives ruined. They have lost their families. And in many cases, this could have been avoidable. That's an injustice. There are countless organizations that are putting all sorts of valiant efforts into rectifying the injustice that occurs and trying to go back retroactively and correct past wrongs. But they're not even scratching the surface. That doesn't diminish the effort. That doesn't diminish the achievements, but more needs to be done. Everybody acknowledges that.